we're getting ready to put one in together with Steve here. So gather around if you got nothing to do. It'll be a nice show. We're going to build a whole shower in 30 minutes.
How many of you take showers? You take showers?
Thanks. Get started? All right, we are going to get started here with the Wedi shower system install. My name is Carson Bennett. I'm Technical Sales Support Manager along here with Stephen Ainley. We are part of a robust network of sales and technical support managers across the U.S. so that you are never going into a Wedi shower system install alone. We're a phone call away or even offer on-site assistance. So if you haven't used one of our products before and you don't want to turn your customer into a guinea pig for that first one, give us a call. We'll show up at 8 a.m. with a cup of coffee and we'll do it together. That way you can sleep soundly knowing you did it right that first time. Today we are going to be walking you through a full shower system install featuring one of our linear drain modular units. But before we get started, if anyone has not heard of Wedi before, we were started in 1983 in Germany. We came to the United States in the early 2000s, and we are a manufacturer of a 100% customizable waterproof shower system. So all of our products right out of the box can be cut, customized right there on site to keep the process efficient. All of our products right out of the box are 100% waterproof, so you'll never have to topically waterproof any of our products to prep it for a shower install. And the system itself is designed in a modular fashion, meaning all of the products are designed to integrate together, to fit together like a puzzle. That way, no matter what crazy design you're doing, that process is going to be the same as the last one you did and the same as the next one you do. All of our products, you'll see kind of a common theme kind of throughout, and that's that blue foam core. That is our extruded polystyrene foam core, and that is our waterproofing. And that is why you don't need to do any sort of topical waterproofing to any of our products. That core is keeping water from getting to the other side. The other two components to all of our products are the cement coating. That's a resin cement coating that we manufacture because it is an excellent surface to bond tile to. So we coat both sides of all of our products in that cement coating. And the last thing is going to be a little bit harder to see from a distance, but it's a fiberglass mesh that reinforces through that cement. So when you put those three things together, what you end up with is a very rigid, fantastic surface to bond tile to that is completely waterproof right out of the box. When it comes to our system, we have a pretty wide range of options for your showers. We have 3 different types of bases that we'll jump right into. But the bottom line is you're going to have a base, some wall panels, some functional pieces that add functionality to that system, and then what holds it all together, which is our joint sealant and our fasteners. So we don't have a whole lot of time today, so we're going to kind of jump right into things. Steve's going to be installing the shower while I'm kind of explaining what all we are doing. But before we can get started with any system, no matter what, we've got to check our prep, right? We've got to make sure that that surface is ready to accept that system so that it can be installed with the efficiency it was designed with. So the few things we're kind of look for, obviously, is a nice level substrate, cement, plywood, whatever it is we got. Obviously, we're looking for L over 360. We don't have any serious deflection. And naturally, we want our framing to be nice and plumb so that way all of our cuts can be nice and straight. Typically, we'll also install some blocking at the base plate, which will make a little bit more sense when we start getting into the actual install. Not a requirement, but it's good practice to have a blocking right down there at the base plate. So without further ado, we're going to kind of just jump right into things. The very first step for any of our systems is to connect the drain body to the shower base. So with the Riolito modular unit, it is a linear drain that is separate from the pitched base, so that gives you a little bit more flexibility with its position, allows you to put it nice and tight up to your framing. So right here, we've got our brand new Click and Seal Fundo drain that is launching October 1st, and that is what we're going to be connecting to the bottom of that modular linear drain unit. So that connection is actually a mechanical connection. You're not going to use any kind of sealant or adhesives of any kind. It's going to connect to the pan with a quarter turn, a little bit of lubricant on the gasket, and when you hear that satisfying click, anybody?
You can hear it at the booth.
Click. All right, we'll pretend we heard it. But when you hear that click, that means that that connection to the base is backed by our 10-year warranty. So you don't have to worry at all about connecting that drain body to the flange of the base. Once that's connected, what we will do is we'll do a quick dry fit, make sure that everything's lining up right on our pipe. Our pipe itself is cut flush with a 5-inch diameter cutout around the drain pipe itself. So if the connection looks good, then we can actually start to mix up our mortar. With the Wedi system, we manufacture showers, and that's it. And we've been doing that for a long time. So whatever type of mortar you like to use, as long as it's a modified mortar, it's going to work for us. That cement coating that we put in there will work with any modified mortar. So right now, what we'll do is we'll mix up some thinset, and we'll butter the backside of that Neo modular unit, and then we'll trowel out some ridges right down onto our substrate. When it comes to our system, we really do have a wide range of options for you in terms of styles of bases, sizes of board, all sorts of wild functional pieces that really elevate the shower and add value to the homeowner's experience when they're using our showers. But with all that said, any shower that you do with us is actually going to be basically 4 products. You're going to have a base, you're going to have some wall boards, you're going to have your functional pieces, and you're going to have what holds it together. So while we have a large range of options, it's not actually that complicated to put together a takeoff for any of our showers. Like I said, today we're going to be doing the Neo modular shower, which is our linear drain. We also have a wide range of center drain, which will feature a 4-way slope towards that center drain. And that slope is pitched at a 1/4 inch per foot. And as opposed to a bowl shape, it's 4 triangles, right? So it's flat surfaces that you can bond large format tile to, as long as you've got those relief cuts running along the 45. Other than the linear drain in our Primo, we also feature a Ligno shower base, which is our curbless base. It features a 3/4 inch thickness all the way around the perimeter. So if I pop my 3/4 inch plywood out and put my base in, I'll be flush with the rest of my subfloor. So those are the 3 different bases that we manufacture. All of those, like I said, can be cut and customized right there on site. If you find yourself with a bit of a gap to the stud, you can always buy one of our extension panels, which allows you to quickly extend one of our bases in any direction. We're just about ready to put this piece right in here. So I want to make sure that you guys can kind of see that in action on the screen. And then I'll kind of jump into some of our building panels as well. Right now, our 1/2-inch building panels, we are manufacturing in Batavia, Illinois. We're sourcing our raw materials from the United States, and we're manufacturing it in the States. We recently expanded our facility in Batavia, basically doubled the size of it, so that we can actually begin production of our Fundo Primo shower bases here in the U.S. as well. So right here, we've got a great full coverage of our thinset on the bottom of our pan. We've got nice clean ridges running in that same parallel direction, and that's going to ensure we get a fantastic bond to the substrate. It's very important in a wet area that you get as close to 100% as possible. We're looking for at least 95. So we're going to push that right into the thinset, make sure we're collapsing those ridges evenly, and now your drain body is connected to your waste pipe. And at the end of this installation, we're going to slip our gasket on there and make sure that it's watertight. Want to do it now? All right, yeah. So this is that click and seal drain I was telling you about. That is a drain that we have designed from the ground up for our systems. It's going to be an identical drain in all of the different bases we have. So today with our linear drain, we're going to go ahead and get started by slipping the rubber gasket. Looks kind of like an O-ring right down over our 2-inch waste pipe. We've got a little bit of a lubricant package in all of our drain boxes so that any of your rubber gaskets that you deal with, you can give them a little bit of lubrication and it'll make it that much easier to slip them down onto the pipe. Once we've got the O-ring in, we've got a compression spacer. And our linear drain, because of the trough, we're actually going to cut that spacer to allow us to put it in two pieces. It'll be much easier than trying to force it into place as one. That spacer is not our waterproofing, so we're not concerned about cutting that. We just need it to fit in there and push down and compress the actual waterproof rubber ring. So there we have it cut, slipping it right in with ease since we have it cut in half. Beautiful. And now we'll use our locking ring along with our strainer key to tighten down that compression spacer right onto that rubber gasket. Now that strainer key is kind of a two-part piece of material. It'll allow you to lock it in place, but it will also act as a hair catcher. So you can just leave it in there and keep your waistline clear. It's reverse threaded, because we do not want to loosen the connection on the bottom of the pan that we did in the beginning. So we'll actually tighten it by spinning it to the left. And once that's tightened down, we are good to go. That drain is now connected. It's watertight and it's backed by the Wedi 10-year warranty. It's really that simple. Moving on, with the neo-modular unit that we're using, we are going to install our pre-sloped base. Like I said before, all of our bases are going to pre-slope so that you get a proper pitch in every single shower. The one we're using today is a single slope, meaning it's in one direction. So we can use real large format tiles, go for that more contemporary, real sleek look. And the important thing, just like our modular unit down here, is that we are getting complete coverage, that we're keeping our ridges nice and even because we're professionals and we want this thing to last a lifetime. So Steve is going to go ahead and spread that mortar and get us a nice even bed first, and then he'll trial out his ridges accordingly. So back to kind of some of our products. I mentioned the three types of bases we had, and that they can all be cut and customized or even extended if need be. Other than your bases, every single shower is going to need some wall boards. I said before, our half-inch building panels are being manufactured right here in the United States. We also have a lot of other sizes of building panels, though, from 1/8 inch all the way up to 2-inch, and kind of everything in between. We feature different footprints of those building panels as well, so that you can be strategic about the size of the building panel that you use for your install to ensure you have the least amount of seams, the least amount of waste, and that it's an efficient process. So make sure before you leave today, you check out our technical handbook for all of our products, including all those building panel sizes. We're in booth 2371, which is actually that booth right there, so no excuses for not stopping by. And you can kind of see all the different building panels because honestly there's too many to get through right here on the stage. But I will touch on a few of the really useful ones. The 1/4 inch building panel is commercial graded for the floor. So if you put that down on your floor, it'll act as a fantastic thermal break for your electric floor heat. Keep that heat moving up towards your customer's feet instead of spreading out in 360 degrees. The 5/8 meshes well with commercial drywall situation. But then when you get beyond that, the thicker building panels are fantastic for very quickly building up a subfloor, right? Building up a floor to match a certain height and having a fantastic surface to bond to. When you get to the 2-inch, though, that's probably one of my favorite products. You can do a lot with the 2-inch. It is basically like a building block made out of Wedi. I can build benches with it, box benches, or I can build a floating bench that'll hold 250 pounds with no blocking, no bracing or anything like that. And those, both the box bench and the floating bench out of the 2-inch building panel are at our booth. So if you want to check that out in action, head right over there and you'll see that. But yeah, and then everything else in between for our building panels. When it comes to our functional pieces, we do have a pretty wide array. They're all going to be made out of those same basic 3 components. We've got all sorts of different sizes of niches that will straddle your 16 on-center studs. And then we've got different types of benches that are prefabricated as well. Real sleek, different styles you can do. We've got this one with the curved edge. We've got some with the harsh angled edge. And you can customize those as needed to fit into your space and make it work for your project. We're going to get ready to add it in? Perfect. So now what we're doing, once we have the thin set in place and we're ready to actually drop that modular unit in, is we are going to ensure that the connection of those 2 pieces is watertight, right? The components by themselves are waterproof, so the only vulnerability is where they come together. So what we're doing here is we're spreading our MS Polymer joint sealant right into the half-inch notch that is built into that unit. And we're going to put it on the vertical face right there so that anywhere where that Wedi product connects to the other one, there's that joint sealant that gets compressed in the middle. That's going to do two things for you. It's going to ensure that connection is absolutely watertight, but it is also going to ensure that the components themselves never move independently of each other. Anybody who's dealt with cracked tile knows how important it is to isolate movement. Make sure that that whole system becomes one once all that joint sealant cures. So that's what we're doing here. We're adding the joint sealant anywhere where they're going to touch each other. We've got our thin set ready to go. We can drop that base right into place and move on to our wall boards. Need some help? Yep. So now here we are, compressing our thin set, compressing our joint sealant, ensuring that it's a nice tight connection. Everything's right up against our studs. And you'll see plenty of squeeze out. That is a good sign. That means we're using an appropriate amount of joint sealant. So here we are just rocking, collapsing the ridges. And then naturally we'll want to address that squeeze out while it's still wet before it gets in our way for later. So Steve will address that. And then we can move on to our wall boards. It's important to keep our channels clear. In a second, we're going to be dropping our half-inch wall boards into those half-inch channels. And just like this connection, we're going to use joint sealant where they connect. So it's important that we clear it out from thin set because we don't need thin set and joint sealant mixing together and making some weird product that's probably not that good for water, right? So we're just cleaning off those ridges, and then we can kind of move right into our wall boards. When it comes to our sealants, that is a very strong product. I've never seen anything that it couldn't stick together. But we also have a fastener kit that we use for our system as well. It's just going to be a ceramic-coated screw and a galvanized washer with some tabs that are going to ensure we get a nice tight connection to our studs. So right here, before we drop our half-inch building panels in, Steve is filling up that half-inch channel with joint sealant. So if you're using a gun, it'll go by pretty quickly. It's really easy to get that nice half-inch layer of joint sealant right into that channel. Theoretically, you won't see much of that blue left if you're using a good half-inch bead. So that's Steve filling that channel up right there. And what we'll typically do is we'll do a dry fit, make sure our half-inch boards are going to be nice and tight against our studs. And if everything looks good, we can actually go ahead and drop it right into the channel. The products, the Wedi product itself is going to be identical on both sides. I think it's always a good idea to show off the Wedi logo, though, right? So you can snap a picture and no one can say you didn't use Wedi. Right in there. So now Steve's just marking his studs since we can't see them anymore. And that joint sealant that's in that channel right there, just like our connection to our Neo modular unit, that is going to ensure that that is a rigid connection as well as a waterproof connection. So it's doing a couple of things for you there. Right here, we're going to space out our washers right on our studs. So that is 12 inches. Every 12 inches, we're going to drop a screw and a washer right into the half-inch building panel. And we're going to keep it about 12 inches above the base. That way we're not accidentally kicking that half-inch board out of that channel at all. So we'll start about 12 inches up and move up every 12 inches. Beautiful. There you go. So we actually pre-cut these building panels yesterday just to make this as efficient as possible. But when you're on the site, it's actually very easy to cut these. You can just use a standard razor, give it a nice score to make sure you get your line right, and then cut all the way through. And it will be virtually messless. I mean, there's very little dust or anything that comes up. It's VOC-free. So it's a very, very simple process to cut and customize your building panels right there on site. If it's cold outside, you don't have to go outside and build a tent to cut all your boards in, right? It's real easy to do right there. So now we're screwing it right in. You'll feel it sink just a little bit into that cement coating. That's a good thing. That means we're getting it nice and tight against our studs. That screw will move independently of the washer. So if it's a new construction or your wood's going through some growing pains, that movement's never going to transfer to the washer, transfer to the board, transfer to your tile. So everything is going to be nice and rock solid by the time we're done doing that. In a second, we're going to put our second building panel in. And when we do that, much like the first one, we are going to fill up that half-inch channel with that joint sealant, right? Ensure we get a nice connection that's watertight. Oh, no, Steve! I didn't think we were doing gimmicks today. Steve dented that with the screw gun. It happens all the time. It happens with ladders. There's a lot of ways you can damage the top of a pan. But remember, like I said, our waterproofing is all the way through. It's that blue foam core. So if you're not going into the other side, Steve could drop that screw gun 100 times on that pan, and it's still going to be watertight. If you've got a real big divot, naturally you'll want to give yourself a nice flat surface to actually bond tile to. So we'll patch that with some joint sealant, let that cure, and you'll have a perfectly flat plan, or perfectly flat surface to bond to. So right here, you'll notice Steve actually put some joint sealant on the vertical edge of that half-inch building panel, because anywhere where they connect, we want to see that joint sealant. We don't want these two panels moving independently of each other. So that'll ensure that will never happen. Slide it into place, and then just like before, those screws and washers are going to go every 12 inches. When we're in the corner, we'll actually offset the washers by just a tad. That way you're not pinching your building panel in the exact same location and accidentally creating a void. So just something to think about. Offset those washers at the corner. Yeah, looking good. So recently, we've been making quite a few investments into our product line. We listen to our customer feedback. We pour a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this system, and every year we keep improving it. So right now we're dealing with our brand new Click and Seal drain that launches October 1st. But last year we introduced some new products too. We introduced a whole line of premium drain covers, so that way you can get your fixtures to match real nice, look good, look congruent in terms of style. We also launched our Anchor Track curb, which we're going to install here in a few minutes. The Anchor Track curb is exactly what it sounds like. It has a PVC, a very dense PVC track running along the top side of that curb that you can anchor into. So if you've got a glass door that needs to be anchored into the curb, you don't have to worry about it being flimsy at all. That'll anchor right into the PVC and give you a rigid connection to the shower glass, wall, or door, whatever you got. So we'll be using that here in a minute. Alongside our rollout of our Click and Seal drain in the October 1st, we are going to be launching a line of premium drain covers for our linear drains as well. So if you want to see what those look like, again, over at our booth, we've got different samples of those, the matte black, the oil rub bronze. They look really sleek. It's something our customers have been asking for a long time. Did you have a question? Oh, we've got them right here. Nice. Someone's doing my job for me. So those are those drain covers I was just telling you about, right? They look real sharp. So if you want to see those up close, we'll have them right back over at that stage there, along with our Click and Seal drain. If you want to see that in action, we've got one that we're taking in and out all day long, and it's a really cool drain. It can do a lot for you. In this linear drain setup, we're not quite seeing all the new features of it. So if you want to see them all in action, they're right over there. But just to run through them real quick, mechanical connection, right? Hair strainer right there built in. And the drain body, or the drain cover itself, the frame, it will now have a telescopic screw up and down so that you can go from 0 all the way up to 1.25 inches just by screwing it up and down. Additionally, it'll have lateral movement in all 4 directions up to 3/16 of an inch. So now there's no excuse for not having your grout lines perfectly even right there at that drain frame. So here, we're getting ready to do our curb. So just like before, anywhere where Wedi's touching Wedi, we're going to give it that 1/2 inch bead of joint sealant. Our curb is going to be reverse notched, just like our pan, so that they feed into each other. And we'll get joint sealant anywhere where they connect together. Our curbs themselves on the top horizontal plane are actually slightly pitched inwards towards your pan. So it's important if you're using 2, like we're going to do here, that you actually miter that connection on the 45. That way, when they meet at a point, they're both pitched inward and there's no pitch on the outside. With the 2-inch curbs that we're using today, we can attach that to our subfloor with joint sealant, which again, just keeps the process quick. If you're using one of our thicker curbs, we recommend using a modified thin set, just like we do with our pans. But today, it's easy. We're using the 2-inch. It's all joint sealant here. We got our first one in. We've got joint sealant in this connection, as well as the butt joint where it meets our wall building panel. And then we'll do the same thing where they're mitered. We'll put a bead of that joint sealant right in there as well. Anytime your curb meets your wall, we want it hitting a Wedi building panel, not drywall. right? We want to make sure that that entire connection inside the shower is completely waterproof. So in 2020, we launched our 4x5 building panels. So if you've got a 36-inch space, instead of grabbing a board that's exactly 36 inches, grab a 4x5 and you can let it run a little bit more wild to right where you need it to be for that curb, to line up to your drywall. Again, just a little bit of feedback that we get from the market, and it makes it that much more efficient. So here we're making sure we've got a nice tight connection, everything's solid, and that joint sealant will start curing. And then here, we're going to go over all of our seams. So anywhere where we made a connection with two Wedi products, we're going to go back over that with a 1/2-inch bead, and we're going to spread it even to cover the seam on either side. We want to be an inch beyond on either side of the seam. The seam itself has already got joint sealant on the inside, right? So by doing this on the outside, we're building some redundancy in there, right? So there's no way water can ever get through to that other side. Yep. Here we've got our corner putty knife. That is perfect for spreading sealant in those corners. It'll actually leave a little bit of a bed so that you're never actually digging it out from the corner at all. And that joint sealant, in an ideal condition, will set up. It'll skim over, be dry to the touch in about 30 minutes. So you're not dealing with any kind of banding or mortars on the tail end of your install. You're dealing with something that sets up in 30 minutes. So after a half hour, if you can touch it and it's not on your finger, you're ready to tile. It really is that quick. So we're just going right through everything, making sure that we've got that even spread and getting it done. We do have a lot of other products, though, that obviously we can't get into today, so I really do encourage you to stop by our booth, check out our products for steam showers, curbless showers. We've got a lot of really innovative ways of putting together a system very quickly and prepping it for tile so that it lasts a lifetime. And I do mean lifetime, right? We stand behind this product, and you don't have to take my word for it. We've got a 10-year warranty right out of the box, no matter who's installing it. And if you want to beef up that warranty, we offer pro certification classes across the U.S. It's a 2-day class. We have a lot of fun. We build a lot of showers together. And you walk away from that, and you can start offering 15 and 20-year warranties to your homeowners, adding a lot of value to that system with that same super simple process. So I would encourage you to talk to your sales support manager in your market to find out when those are being scheduled and take advantage of it. It's free. It's a great way to make your bids that much more competitive. And honestly, guys, we're always a phone call away. I never want you to feel like you're going into a system alone. So do not hesitate to call. Yeah, the answer might be in the book, but nothing wrong with just calling me. I'm happy to chat. Half the time I'm in my car anyways, so I welcome a phone call or two on those long rides. But yeah, I think we're just about out of time. We're just covering up our screws and washers right now, making sure that anywhere where we made a penetration all the way through to the other side, we're waterproofing that completely. Once that sets up, 30 minutes, we're ready for tile. It really is that simple. Any questions before we wrap up? Yes, so when steam showers started getting really popular, we had a product for it. It's something that you rolled on, our membrane, a subliner dry membrane. But we started actually sticking that on to our 1/2-inch building panels ahead of time at our factory. That way, if you're prepping a steam shower, you're basically putting those panels in just like you would here, and they're already steam-proof. So all we have to do is steam-proof the connection with a little bit of banding. So yeah. So you asked how long do you have to wait to do a flood test with that sealant? Because it's dry to the touch, it's ready for thin set pretty much right off the bat. But we do recommend waiting 24 hours to do a flood test. We really want everything to be completely cured before we subject it to being submerged in water. Good question. Any other questions? No? Right on. Well, that's about it then. Again, my name's Carson. No excuses, the booth's right there. I better see you all. Remember all of your faces. If you got anything for us, though, we're always a phone call away, honestly. Thanks, guys.